So welcome back, everyone, to my one-to-one conversation with our founding member, Anna Conahan O'Sullivan. Very happy to be back with you, Anna, and to be able to pick up your important storyline as we go on. When we last left you, you had arrived in the United States, and you had met some people here. You met Fidelma and Peter, and you'd known Peter and Cyril from another meeting. But basically, we wanted to pick up with what was happening in the New York area at the time, because that was where you were, who was teaching, what was happening, what were the feshes like, and then gradually, how did the IDTANA come into business? So when you got here, obviously you came and you met family and that kind of thing. But what was going on with dancing at that time? Was there much happening in terms of teachers and feshes and stuff like that?
Yes, there was. And before we really get into the whole thing, people have said to me, "You mean you started Irish dancing in America?" I said, no. There were people here.
Sure.
And I want to give them the right place, and justly so, in California, in Chicago, in Boston, as you well know, in the New York area. There were dancing schools, but dancing had changed from I left in 1963 to what was being done here. Here was everything was quick.
Right, very stage Irish kind of thing, yep. Mm.
And I did go to a show the first Monday of November, and I only came in October, and there was a show down in the Manhattan Center. It was the Night of Shamrocks. And my sister said to me, "Now you can go." She says, "But I'm just telling you, it's not the Irish dancing that you so please be patient." So I did go, and I did see it. I saw the tap, I saw the ballet dresses on, I saw the headpieces on. Now, headpieces, were worn in Irish dancing when I was way back, when I was much younger. Mm-hmm. Like they were round, they were like crowns. But this took me aback, and I said to the ones with me, "Is this the only thing?" And they said, "No, be patient, you will see dancing." So then there was an interval, and the dancing started again. And there was a school of dancing at that time on stage that came on. We didn't have a lot of embroidery in those days here. There was little bit.
Very simple things.
Come on in a blue outfit. I can see them yet. And this was 1963. And it was called the Lovett School.
Oh, Johnny Lovett.
Johnny Lovett.
Right, yes, exactly. And I know that name.
It was a slower paced, like more into teamwork of what I did. And
what you would have been familiar with back at home, right? Yeah.
Team and whatever stage presentation was there. And they did a little bit of fast stuff, which we would do at shows home, but then we did the traditional, what we were used to in all Ireland and Great Britain. So there were teachers here. Now, I know for a fact, because I do have actually correspondence that was given to me. Mike Bergen did some research for me, and we did get into stuff. And there was a letter written in 1961, February, and it was addressed to Sean O'Doyle, and it was from Una Ellis, and the other teachers that were there would have been Cyril and Peter and them, requesting that they join commission and the whole thing. It's here. I will give it to the archives when everything
sure.
is, because this is extremely important. These people do deserve their place.
Absolutely. So there was an interest even in the early 60s in hooking up somehow with Ireland, as far as that goes.
O'Donnell was involved, Una Ellis was involved, Cyril and Peter, and I do know that. But like a lot of things, you get caught up in everyday stuff, and they didn't have regular meetings.
Right, yeah. So, it was a good idea, but it wasn't being pushed along, yeah.
So then Cyril and Peter met me at, I don't know when, I know it was the end of November, maybe the beginning of December. There was a dance on down in the Old Tuxedo Ballroom on 86th Street. And they had sent out a request to all teachers in the New York area or any surrounding areas to come. Mm-hmm. And we sat down with the meeting, and they talked about joining the commission and what we would do. So it was kind of, it was like, there was only Cyril and Peter, and of course myself, I had to weigh in and weigh the situation. I didn't say much. And they got up and they were talking, well, we don't belong to this, we don't want to be stuck with that. And I says, hold on a minute, lads, we're not changing anything. We're just going to see if there's enough people that want to join and become members. We will then iron out situations with commission. Well, this one fella got up and he said to me, who do you think you are? And I says, my name is Anne Conaghan and I come from Scotland. What are you doing here? And I remember I really was nasty. I said, Pinky, I have more knowledge of current Irish dancing than you. So Cyril turned around and he goes, get your bag, we're leaving. Cyril and Peter and I, they walked out and I walked after them. Now they're
not a good beginning.
At least 30 people there.
Really?
So there were dancing schools going on. There were dancing schools, like you would Helen Madden had school in Boston.
Right. She was my teacher's teacher.
Yes, she was. Jimmy Irwin, not Jimmy Irwin, Eddie Irwin, the Lord of Mercy and Eddie. And,
he danced for the Hanson Cohen School, right?
Yeah, and there was
Josephine Moran.
Josephine Moran was actually, she became a member of our association. There was the Boston ones. Then you had Patricia Keneally's father was in California. And it was
absolutely.
Travel. Tessie Burke was in Pittsburgh but couldn't make it. And like there was different ones. But anyway, to make the long story short, Peter says, let's wait and we'll see it. Let's get the holidays over. I know it was before that. It was before Christmas.
Sure.
So we waited till after the holidays. And then the next thing, Peter calls me. Anna, we have another dancer. I says, from where? From Derry. I said, oh, that's okay. I says, I'll take a dance for Brendan de Glynn. And lo and behold, Fidelma arrived at the end of January. We met at the beginning, like talking on the phone. Fidelma landed in Jersey and we had scheduled a meeting. They scheduled a meeting in the Old Irish Institute on 48th Street in Manhattan, the very top floor. Never forget it. And we had to walk up. There was no elevator. And we had our first meeting. Now, they sent out to everybody.
Sure.
Alice, the Boston people. And it was a bad night. I will tell you that. It was snowing. It was raining. It was cold. It was February. Come on. March is bad here. But anyway, we sat there and there was Phil Cairns from Dublin, who I think danced for, not sure which of the Cadwells it was.
Okay.
Writer. There was Kevin McKenna, who had actually judged me at a feis in Glasgow.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin was Belfast. There was Cyril. There was Peter. There was Fidelma. There was myself. And May Butler had sent a message to Peter, I'm on my way. And God rest May, got stuck at Toronto with the snow. And I couldn't spend the night at the airport and couldn't make it down. So anyway, we went ahead and the decision was made that night. I'll never forget it. Phil Cairns, we elected as president. We didn't know one another really, you know. We were kind of blind.
Just meeting and getting to know each other, yeah.
Right, someone to take care of it. It was Phil Cairns. Then it was Kevin McKenna. I would be the recording secretary because I did shorthand. I was a private secretary, that was fine. Fidelma would deal with correspondence and Cyril and Peter would deal with treasury because we had no money.
You were paying out of your own pockets, I know that.
We did pay out of our own pocket. And
Anna, could I interrupt you for a second? I'm just curious. I know that May Butler was part of the conversation, but how did she get involved initially? I never seem to be able to find out how people did Cyril know her? Who knew May Butler and included her?
What would happen to my knowledge? Now, don't forget, I'm a greenhorn here, very new. And Fidelma's newer than me. May came to Toronto and was, to my knowledge, this is what I was told, was she taught in Toronto and she was the first school and had a tough time with it. There was teachers in Boston and there were feis in Boston.
Right.
There was teachers in like the Chicago area and the
Sure, sure.
all over that, and they had feshes, and I wasn't teaching. I was teaching at home, but I hadn't started here. Several dancers would get into cars and buses, and they would, they traveled to Boston.
Absolutely, yeah.
They traveled. They heard there was a fesh in Toronto, and they landed in Toronto, and that's where, to the best of my knowledge, Cyril and Peter and May Butler first got together.
Gotcha.
May was Dublin, Cyril was Belfast. Don't forget, Cyril came out here in, I think, the late 40s, I think, early 50s. I'm not sure.
It was Cyril and Peter and Joan, right?
Cyril and Peter and Joan, the three of them, and their mom came out here, emigrated here from Belfast. And Peter was dancing for Cyril then.
Right.
So, and then he started his own school. So, and there was feshes in Cleveland, because there was a major Irish place in Cleveland. So they would travel to them. Like, we ended up traveling as well, but they were the instigators. Cyril and Peter, I will give them all the honor that's due to them. They are the ones that really did spread out the wings, to get.
And make the connections as well to the people,
And then once in a while you would see a dancer or two, maybe from Boston, come down to New York. And eventually, like in Connecticut, we started little feshes, as you know.
Sure.
And there was feshes in upstate New York, because May started teaching in Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be a fesh in Syracuse, so you would travel to Syracuse. And it was just that, to me, my knowledge, and the best of my knowledge, is how we really started spreading. There was there, but to get us together.
Sure. So now the date of this meeting, this was in what, 1963?
March of 64.
64. Okay,
March
right.
Of 64.
So at that point, you guys decided, we're going to make a go of this. We're going to try to put a group together and move on.
What we decided that night was, if you don't want to be part of it, that's fine. But every month, if it's only for a cup of coffee, we're getting together to see how things are progressing and what rules. I wrote it down. The rules of commission. We wanted to get the commission to send us the rules, to try and make presentations to people, that we were going to try and amend some of, not all the rules over there apply here. At that time, they didn't. And the rules applied here didn't apply there. So we had to have a kind of a middle piece. So we did make the decision that night that we were going to meet every single month, no matter what, sickness and health. Right? We were going to go. And we did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we didn't have much. We did do a lot. We learned, and we would get correspondence. And then, I'm not sure of the exact dates, but there was a bunch went home, I think maybe 66 or 68, and did an exam in Dublin. Peggy Bergen. I have the list of them. I have the letter congratulating the following candidates: Dennis Dennehy, Margie Dennehy, from the Chicago area.
Sure.
She danced for Pat Roach way back. They're all Pat Roach dancers.
Right, exactly.
Tessie Burke, a lot like that. And then you had Jim Madden from Boston did his exam. You had Steve Carney. You had a lot. And we gradually grew. And the feshes grew. We would have one in Stamford and Hartford and New Haven. And there was a fesh in every major city all the way to Boston. But we traveled every weekend.
But basically, one of the reasons why you came together was, one, to have a group to help each other, but also because you were experiencing some unique oddities at some of the feshes, correct? In terms of the music or the judging or whatever the case might be. What were some of the issues that were happening?
That was my next point. There was 2 feshes in New York. The Gaelic League ran a fesh at Iona College every May. And the United Irish Counties ran a fesh at Hunter College in New York, in the Bronx.
Right.
And we would go, and it wasn't too long teaching, and I'm there and I'm saying, can they slow the music down? And Cyril said to me, you haven't a hope in hell. Cyril and I, kids got up for the hornpipes. There was dancers of Peter's, dancers of Cyril, and dancers of ours. and some of Una Ellis's and different ones. And they would say to the musician, can you go slower? No, this is as slow as I go, and they'd keep playing. They wouldn't slow down. So we really had to take a stand on music. And that was a tough one. The Gaelic League were more into us. They wanted to expand Irish dancing and into the current level. Now you have to remember, I met Cyril and Peter, and I saw them at the All Ireland, and that would be like, maybe 68, 69 in Dublin. But to get them here, and the Gaelic League did go out of their way, and they got musicians, Larry Redigan, you had Andy McGann, who was also a TCRG,
sure.
Reynolds, Pete Kelly. There was a bunch of musicians that were willing to offer two tempos. But then we had to get the FESH committee to change the syllabus. So there was, the intricate parts. But they were willing, split them. Now, when you went to United Irish Counties, there was an under 8, an under 10, under 12, an under 16. And beginners, novice, and prize winners were all stuck in the water.
Absolutely. I remember that at Feshes in Boston as well.
I am. So this is what we were dealing with. And the poor little, now there might be 180 kids in a competition, and there was 3 wards.
And no ties.
No ties. But what I found out, and it's not what you know, it's who you know that gets information for you. And I know this is genuine. What the United Irish Counties did, what the Gaelic League did was they had dancers that I knew that danced for Anna McCoy in Belfast. They were out here and they were adjudicators. They knew the current dancing, but they were also into what was going on here in America. So they were able to switch and do their, coordinate everything, and were excellent at it because they were trained dancers. United Irish Counties, they would go to the airport on a Friday or a Saturday and meet the stewardesses coming in on the Aer Lingus flights. And are you staying over till Monday? Are you staying over till Monday? And they'd say, well, if you do, will you come to the FESH and judge the FESH? And when we would go to the FESH, there's all the stewardesses in their uniform, sitting judging.
And many of them may not necessarily have been trained dancers.
They'd say to us, I never danced a step in my life.
Oh, isn't that fun?
And this is what we were up against. And the parents. So I did, I'd say maybe 1965, 66. I ran my own class FESH. And they got in touch with me and told me I had no right to run a class FESH. Only the FESHs that were recognised in New York area could be done. This is from the United Irish Counties. I said, no, I have permission from Dublin to do this. No, you don't. I said, yes, I do. I said, don't argue with me. I have it in black and white. And I did have my own class FESH, and I had it for a couple of years. Then I had an interclass FESH, where I only had it in the church hall. So then I invited a few more schools.
Sure.
And then and I said, no, I'm not doing this. But by that time, FESHs were starting to realise that we weren't going to be walked over. We were to be dealt with. And we had commission. We had Mary Walsh. Mary Walsh, God rest her, was appointed our liaison. And Mary bent over backwards to help us here.
Sure, yeah.
So in the beginning, it was a hassle. It really was.
So part of what you wanted to do with the organization was to try to come together so you could, as a group, address these problems, try to figure them out one at a time, and have a united voice for the kids.
When we started, our original name was the North American Irish Dance Teachers Association. That was our original name. We had our first convention, 1968. I do have the syllabus for that. When we went to the convention, it was down, I think, in the Hilton. And we had a dinner. We had no dancing. We just had the convention of the teachers from all over. And I remember meeting a lot of Boston teachers. And we had ones like, Dennis Dennehy came in. A lot of them came in. And we were able to kind of say, all right, we're setting the groundwork. We really have to get down on this.
So it was like your first business meeting where you were really, as a large group, getting your business on order. Yeah.
I'll tell you, but those first 6 years, from 64, for the first 4 years, till we got more members, like, she danced, I forget her name, she danced for Cyril too, Sheila, I'll think of her name, and then there was Mike, and there was Peggy, and different ones in our own area that took the exam and passed it. And then some of them had already then gone back to Ireland and done their adjudicators. Una Ellis.
Right.
You know, ones like that. They all went back and they got their ADs, and we were kind of getting set. But that's what really, we had a dinner dance. We had a dinner dance. And
really?
We figured we had to make some money somewhere. Lord Mercy and Felix Dolan, who was a great
musician
person behind us. He was one of the best musicians ever to play Irish music, could accompany any dancer or any musician. He was unbelievable. He was our guest speaker. Yeah, and he gave a wonderful speech that night. And I'm sure if I go through all my little bits and pieces of paper, I might find a lot of little things.
And I know you well enough to know that you will probably do that.
Well, I'll do my best. I've been looking for a lot of stuff this morning.
Now, let me ask you this. So this was the first convention. Obviously, it was business, and you came up with some ideas and so forth. Did that become a regular thing then? Was it something you did every year or every couple of years?
Before I get that far, I have to give honour. Now, I said that Phil Cairns was elected our first president. 2 meetings later, I think it was 2, we got notice that Phil was sick and would want to be a member, but withdrew from his position.
Sure.
So Kevin McKenna was put into the position.
Okay.
And I honestly don't know who was our vice president.
Now, Kevin McKenna, he's the one whose son danced as well? Was there a McKenna that danced as well, or is it just Kevin himself?
Kevin himself was from Belfast. He
Gotcha.
was a dancer. I don't know if he's a teacher, but he was an adjudicator, because he judged me in Glasgow way back before I ever came.
Sure.
Maybe it was about 17 or 18. He judged me. That I do know.
Sure.
And when I heard about him, and I looked and I saw him, he goes, I know you from somewhere. I know you. I says, you judged a feis in Glasgow. And he goes, yeah, you danced Planksy Davis. I said, yeah. That was really the first.
We don't forget these things.
Funny how little things go. But anyway, that was it. So Kevin McKenna was the first one to say, all right, we're getting together. We're getting everybody. We'll get everybody here. And we did. A lot of teachers did travel. Rita O'Shea, who was already teaching in Boston because she had come to Boston. Mm-hmm. And she was a teacher at that time.
Yeah, she came to Boston when I was actually still an active competitive dancer, because she actually judged me in Boston. Yeah, in my last year of dancing, right? Yeah.
Rita was. Rita's teaching, she must be teaching about 65 years.
It would be about that, right? Yeah. Rita White O'Shea. Yeah, there you go.
White, that's exactly it.
Rita O'Shea White. Sorry, Rita O'Shea White.
Yeah. She, and she's still the same self.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, you take what you get and you have a fight.
So Kevin became the next president, and did he actually run the convention then in '68?
Yeah, he did, and all the bits and pieces that we wanted, and it was the feis that we were trying to really control, get more age groups. Then was a couple of years later, like beginners, novice, and prize winner, and then we snuck in preliminary. You know, you had to
over time, yeah,
because there was a lot of feis, a lot more. I mean, we went to Freehold, New Jersey. We went to we went all over. We went to
all of these feis were basically run by Irish organizations, not by dance schools typically, correct?
That started, like, I think after the Worlds that we got into go, and I know Fidelma ran a feis in Gaelic Park. Patsy ran a feis. But
that was a later development, yeah.
Yes, that all came along, and they were able to put in the competitions that we wanted at the big feis. So they saw that it worked.
Sure.
That helped, and of course, dancing prospered. Like, you know, we had good schools, we had great schools.
Sure.
And what would happen is, then there was the enforcing of rules, transfer rules. I think for maybe 12 years, 15 years, that was a topic at every meeting.
It still is. Some things never go away.
Going around and we're back to the topic again.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned Mary Walsh, and I was curious to know, in her role as liaison to North America, what was her goal? What did Commission want her to do for them and for us?
Well, I think we kind of got her better than the Commission. I know Commission had, as you well know now, being a member of the Commission, people don't realise how the Commission is made. It's the Gaelic League. And then it's the dancing. And then there's different sections. So the dancing was controlled then by the ones that were at that time, like you had Tom Farley,
sure,
and Seamus McAnilla, you had Matt Mulady, you had umpteen people there. And of course, you know the Irish people, they don't want a lot of change. And when things are going good, like, why ruffle them? Well, we were going to ruffle them. And we kind of got Mary to go with us. Like, we only want this, we want that. We would like differently.
So she was kind of your voice back to the Commission.
She voiced all, and she did a wonderful job of it. And we realized, we knew that, and we told the members, we're not going to get everything. You're not going to get everything. I know the Commission from when I was dancing in Glasgow at 7 years of age. Like, you don't. And it did take a long time. And there was a couple of things that really stuck in the Commission that they had a hard time giving up. And I'll tell you, and then we can get back to it, was the examination, the exams.
Right, exactly.
The exams. And people don't realise that parents today, when it comes to the dancing, don't realise that our parents drove to Feshes and it would rain because there was a Fesh the next day and you had to dry the stage, put on the lights of the car and start dancing when it was dark. And we tried to get rid of, have more stages, have more judges.
Improve the situation, right? Yeah.
It took a long time, Russell.
Now, examinations by and large at this point were only being offered in Ireland, correct? So people like Josephine Moran had to go to Ireland to take her exam. Steve Carney and my wife Millie, they went to take their TCRG exams after being in Belfast for a week studying with Anna McCoy to make sure they knew the material and all that kind of good stuff. So exams you had to go there to take the exam at that stage of the game.
Then we got a little bit miffed because I'll see it. There was panels for the exams.
The A panel and the B panel and all that, yes.
And Peter went over a couple of times and started it, like, trying to get this right. And I remember one meeting he couldn't go, and I went, one of the ones I went to, and I was determined. I was getting this straightened out, and I did speak to some of the English members of Commission, our teachers run everything here. Okay, we don't have these what they have in England.
The councils, the regional councils.
Yeah, parents will help, but they don't run because they don't know all the ins and outs.
True.
And we had a lot of people at the meeting, and I remember at that meeting, I says, "What is the difference? If you can explain to me the difference between an A panel and a B panel, and it is within reason of believing, all right, I'll go along with it." Well, nobody could give me an answer. Nobody could do it. And I remember one sitting at the meeting and said, "But this is ridiculous." What we wanted to hear at that point was, if the exam, this was our proposal. No, you're going to laugh at this. If the exam was in America, there was one examiner from Ireland and two examiners from here.
That didn't go over well, I'm sure.
That did not, but I wasn't letting up on it. I says, but if it's here, then you have two examiners in Ireland and one from the States or Canada or whatever. You had examiners. And no. And we fought them for a couple of months. And I finally went back to another meeting. And I said, I'm back again and I'm not leaving till we get this changed. And I do remember, and I can see those faces, and I will see them as long as I live, saying, "You'll never get it." I'll say, "Just try it." It went to a vote with everybody there voting. The English crew, teachers and whoever it was, sided with us. Disband ABs and extend exams and put, out. So we did. And hence we got. But then we were examined. We were short examiners.
Right, exactly, yeah.
A letter from Tom Farley one day. I called Fidelma and says, she had just started doing exams. I said, Fidelma, I got a letter from Tom Farley asking me to go to Syracuse to sit in an exam and become an examiner. Learn what goes on. And I have that letter to this day. And that was back in 78, 79. But
when did exams actually start occurring here in North America? Do you know offhand? Can you recall?
Yeah, well, a good one that would have a good date on that would be Patsy, because we used to run them in Jersey.
Right, sure.
I think Patsy ran them. She volunteered to do it one year, and she volunteered for the next one. She
never got out of her volunteering. So probably in the late 60s, early 70s, after your initial attending at meetings.
Oh no! It was into well into the end of the 70s.
Okay, 70s. Okay.
Into the beginning of the 70s.
And the first exams were held in the New York area, New Jersey area.
New York area, out in I just.
Near Newark Airport and all those kinds of places, yeah.
Yeah, at Newark Airport was the handiest one because
sure.
Flight in and out, and trying to accommodate people from all over and trying to schedule and getting examiners.
Sure.
Then we went to 2 panels.
So, but on this first panel, it would have been 1 American and 2 from Ireland, typically, or Ireland or England, correct?
Yeah, the first one, yes.
Yes. And who would some of the first examiners have been from North America, for example? Who was appointed at that point?
Cyril.
I
don't know if Cyril was still living. Peter, Fidelma, May Butler.
And then you.
I was down here, but I'm just trying to think about Dennis Dennehy.
What about Peggy O'Neill? Because she would have been in DC at that point.
She was in DC, and she wasn't as involved into she wasn't examiner, but I don't remember Peggy doing any exams here.
In the beginning. I know she did later with me, but I wasn't sure. Yeah.
In the beginning, I don't know. But I mean the examiners, and then that's when we said, no. If we want to go to, we need to get more examiners.
Sure.
And one reason was for saving expenses.
Sure. And who were some of the first examiners that would have come out from Ireland to be with us? Mary Walsh, those people?
Mary Walsh was out. You had Tom Farley, you had Owen Quinn, you had Anthony Nolan, you had John Cullinan, you had your other examiners. Oh, I'm trying to think. Oh God, I need to write a list. There's a list. It would come to me.
But that gives us
from Derry, Brendan de Glynn.
So there's quite a few different ones that were part of the process out here.
Yeah, because there had been a split then in the commission.
The COGOL, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The COGOL, which didn't go down here, and to this day I do regret it, because a lot of my dearest friends in Irish dancers in Glasgow were COGOL, and it was bad in England too. Scotland was hit very bad, sure. And so was England. But I remember teachers coming out from Ireland and meeting us at the New Haven Feis. I knew Harry McCaffrey, he knew me, and he said to me, can I have a meeting with the teachers after? I said, I'll do my best. So I got all of them as much as I could, and Steve Carney was there, and I'm sure you were there, and a whole bunch. Jim Madden was there, and they wanted to, they wanted some to come with COGOL and
join with the COGOL, right?
And Fidelma and I looked at one another, and I said, well, you can do what you want. I'm not making anybody's mind up. I'm staying commission. And Fidelma said, I'm staying commission. So I remember Steve Carney very well saying to me, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying where I am. So it kind of, nobody really joined.
There wasn't the level of interest, right?
Wasn't. And I felt, I felt bad, when we go like from nationals or stuff, I'd feel bad because Maureen was a commission member, but her sister ended up, God rest Peggy, going.
She was the president of the Kogalla, wasn't she? Or the chairperson.
I mean, I remember them as a child dancing in Edinburgh, Maureen and Peggy. And I thought, let's come to families. Irish dancing is not worth that.
Absolutely.
The most important thing is your health. And then your other stuff. So that was...
I wanted to switch gears just a little so we can kind of conclude this next conversation. And I understand that there was a first national championships of some kind, an Oireachtas, whatever you want to call it, in 1969 at the Tower View Ballroom in Woodside, Queens, New York. Am I right on that?
Oh boy, are you ever right on that.
And the only reason I know is because I got the information from the gentleman who won the senior men's that year. And I think you know who that is. Monsignor Sean Ogle. And I forget who he told me was the girl that won
I'll tell you the whole thing. I have a picture of myself and Eddie Irwin. Oh, Eddie, oh God, I get Jimmy and Eddie, but Jimmy Irwin and Mike Bergen and the 3 boys champions and the 3 girls champions.
Yeah.
Okay, we get a notice from Ireland, from Commission. They're having a world.
The first time the World Championships, right?
And we all looked and we went, what in the name of God's going to happen? You know, what are we going to do?
How would you get dancers there? How'd you qualify them, right? Exactly.
We had to run a fish here, like for just championships. And we didn't know. We thought, and God rest Mike Bergen says, well, I'll chair it. And I said, okay, I'll co-chair it. And Jimmy Irwin co-chaired it.
Right.
Fidelma was the secretary. And Cyril and Peter went out to get donations where they could from the Irish, like the counties and all the Irish organisations.
Irish stores and pubs and things, yeah.
Find a place and we didn't know where to go. How we got, well, it was called Pappins. It was an Irish dance hall on the weekend. It was in the Tower View Ballroom. And there was one massive ballroom and then there was a little one off to the side too. So we got them. We sent out to all the teachers that were members of our association. And they all said they would chip in, they would help. May Butler took care of Canada and like Rita and Helen Madden, they took care of Boston.
And the Dennehy's, sure.
Everybody sections. And we did have dancers come from those areas. And then we had to get adjudicators, and we were so short, you could judge. None of the committee decided we were going to judge. We were too busy running around. Major thing was we had to get a tabulating committee.
Right.
The old 100-point system.
Sure.
Well, we didn't know how to do it. But by this time, the Gaelic League had come into our ballpark and learned about the whole thing. And the members of the Gaelic League offered to come and do the tabulating and hold up any. Joe Kennedy and his wife Nancy, who was TC, Anne Greenan and her husband. There was another girl there, I can't think of her name right now, red hair. Felix Dolan and his wife Mary. And we put them up on the stage and they had papers all around. And we closed the curtains and they worked behind the scenes. And that's who our tabulating committee was that first year. I often thought about it, I thought, the parents just went along. Whatever we said was law, and that was it. No parents. Like some of the parents of today that'll question you today.
And this was run basically to qualify dancers to go to the first World Championships in Dublin, right?
Now we had that. Then
you remember some of the names of you said you knew some of them. I know Sean Ogle won the senior men's, but I didn't know if there was any others.
John Kinane. There was one of Peter's boy. I wish I had brought all the stuff.
Oh, that's fine.
John was the junior, and there was one of Peter's. One of the McKiernans was the boy. The senior girl, I think, was Colleen Werber from Peter.
Probably was.
Mary Healy, that danced for Eddie Irwin.
Yeah. No, she danced for Jimmy Irwin.
Jimmy Irwin.
Yeah. Mary Healy.
The two lads.
Yeah. She's a lovely dancer.
God bless them. Yes. And one of Tessie Burke's girls, McCafferty, I think.
Was it Judy Bunsey? Judy Bunsey McCafferty?
No.
It was PJ's sister.
Would be PJ's sister.
Right, exactly.
She won the junior. And I forget who did the mine. I have pictures of it. And because
we'll come back to that in another conversation.
I tell you, I need to pull it all out. I would have, but I do remember all that. We had no teams, no nothing. And if you danced in that, they gave permission. But like everybody didn't go. But some of us did, because we were going to Colostua for the first World Championships. And I'll never forget Sean McAnilla. David McAnilla saying, you will be coming. And we said, yeah, we'll be there. Thelma and I looked at one another and went, how? But we ran like a school dance. We raised some money and we brought kids. I had a few kids go, Mary McCory and Joanne Collins and a bunch, and Fidelma had a bunch. What we did do, we were so used to here dancing one at a time, be it a solo or be it a championship, on a stage, as you well know.
Sure.
Now we had to learn how to put the kids on the stage 3 at a time and dance till the bell goes. So we got together as teachers. And Fidelma came in and I brought kids out to her, and Cyril and Peter would mix up and they'd come in and we'd start. And we, for about a month before we hammered that into them, they couldn't get used to somebody else on the stage.
It was a whole learning curve.
Oh my God. Cyril and Peter and I taught in the one hall in Dykeman Street up in Upper Manhattan. So we had that. So Fidelma would bring in, so there was plenty of room, and Peter would send dancers. So we had them all mixed up. And that's how our kids learned to dance 2 and 3 at a time.
Sure.
It was such an eye-opener. And then when we went to Colostua, and we went from a huge dance hall to a nice little stage.
It was indeed a little hall. Not what you might have anticipated.
Right at the top of Parnell Square. Well, we got together. We didn't hire a plane that year, but following years we had planes. And I chaired those committees with other members. And we did. We landed, we got hotel accommodations, and it was called the Royal Hibernian Hotel in very top of O'Connell Street.
I know where it is indeed. I stayed there myself.
If you walk up, it was on your left-hand side. And the other side of the park was Colostua. And that's where we were. And we'd start at 8 o'clock in the morning. And we were still there at 11 and 12 o'clock.
And when you think about it, in 15 years, you went from trying to organize a group of teachers together to try to do local issues. And now you're at the first World Championships where you have dancers representing North America for all intents and purposes, like Sean Ogle and Colleen Werba and people like that. That's an amazing 15 years when you think about it.
We did, and I'll tell you, I put it down to nobody but the teachers putting in, and a lot of teachers worked jobs at those days. And then they had their classes, and the parents were behind them, and the parents helped, and the parents said, no, we'll run that. You don't worry about running this. We'll do this. We'll do that. And it was just all together. We were doing it for the sake of the kids, to give them the exposure.
Exactly.
And that's exactly 1969 we did it.
So basically it was 15 years of all of that kind of stuff going on. It wasn't even 15 years. I'm crazy. It was almost like 5 years, and then gradually we had the regions and all that kind of good stuff. But it's rather amazing to think the way in which the IDTANA, which we now call it the IDTANA, where they came in just a few years, and then what you said at a recent convention, to look at it where it is now in terms of where the IDTANA is, with over 1,000 members and 300 and something feshes, and it's rather amazing when you think about the way in which, when you guys created it, could you have expected it's going to end up where it is right now?
I will tell you right now, and I speak for all my former founding members, Never in all my life did I expect it to grow to this. I do get a bit teary-eyed to think I'm the last.
Well, I understand that. But when you think about the fact that you planted the seeds and look where they went.
What we did. And it was the determination not to give up. Have the meetings, have Ireland come, have Ireland work with us, have them do stuff. And they did. I mean, they sent Mary Walsh. Mary Walsh, God rest her, worked miracles. Tom Farley came over, Seamus McAnilla. They all would come. What can we do? Can we help? And then, of course, we're back and forth. Sean Cullinan, Tony Nolan. They all, you know, they were forever. They were the ones that encouraged you to keep going and keep going.
They were. It sounds to me like they were very welcoming. They didn't see you as interlopers. They wanted you to be part of the fold because they saw something that was going on here that was important.
I mean, yeah. When I think on when we went to commission meetings first, the only one to a commission meeting was either Peter or Fidelma or myself. That was it.
And right now we have 30-some people who go.
North American people from North America and Canada attending the commission meetings.
Yep.
And I see it. We've had a past president of the Irish Dancing Commission of CLRG, Peter. When he was and I could have gone to the moon and back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It was just a feat that we had tried to work out. And it bothers me. I'm going to be very blunt and honest. You know me long before now, Russell. I do think there's too much pressure in the world today in general. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
To me, people have lost sight. And I can say it for a fact. I couldn't sit down here and tell you the championships, medals, places I have been for Irish dancing. But I can remember I can tell you all my friends in Irish dancing from I was 5 years of age.
Sure, sure.
I have friends all over, like through Irish dancing. I took my kids to London to judge a feis. I judged. And when I came back, I was sending the two girls, Anne-Marie and Deirdre, to Ireland, to my mother-in-law in County Cork. I put them on a plane. In fact, I left for New York. And Richard Griffin's dad put them on the plane in London and flew them to Cork, where my mother-in-law and brother-in-law met.
Sure. The connections and friendships are really very special. They are indeed.
To Australia, the teachers there. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, Kathy Cosgrove from the First World. I met her in Kalashawara.
And she had to go by boat that took several weeks to get there.
She had been around the world.
Yes. Well, we certainly have come a long way from that first meeting in March of 1964. There's no two ways.
I will tell you the most important thing I ever got out of Irish dancing. I learned to be a good winner. I learned to be a better loser.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that Irish dancing is not the be-all and the end-all. It's my heritage, and you're not going to destroy it. Irish dancing will always be first and foremost after my children and my family.
Absolutely.
I will always do it. And parents have got to realise you win some days. The day you win is the day you shouldn't have won. And the day you should have won is the day you didn't.
and it comes out in the wash at various times, doesn't it?
It does. And like I say, the friendships. I
Absolutely.
mean, I remember judging Michael Smith the day a bee ran into his ear and stung him.
I remember teaching Michael Smith when he was 4 years old at the class in Boston. Mary Costello brought him in class and said, "Here, Russell, I want you to work with this young boy here." And here he is teaching over 50 years. It's just unbelievable.
Michael is like, and he often said to me, "Anna, I learned a lot by just watching you."
Absolutely,
sure. As a child. He says, and I'm never afraid to go and ask you your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give my opinion whether you like it or not. And I've had teachers come and say, "What do you think of this one?" I will help anybody in Irish dance.
Absolutely.
I will not, because life is too short.
Absolutely.
As we have realised all this.
Yeah. We probably need to have another piece of this conversation at a future time about where we are right now, but we'll save that for a little bit later.
Yes.
Anna, it has been absolutely brilliant hearing from you, all of the bits, and much of which I already knew from you and Fidelma and Peter and all of the people that have kept me in their fold, so to speak, all this time. But it's been a great honor having this conversation with you, because I absolutely love hearing you talk. I love your accent. And I love that the fact that I'm sort of Scottish by heritage as well. So that I've got that other side of me that comes in as far as that goes.
I will tell you what people say to me, where are you from? When I go out, and then we will finish with this. It's a laugh. They'll say to me, what part of the north of Ireland are you from? Oh, you're from Scotland. Oh. And what burns me is to say, are you English? No, I'm not. The way I look at it is, I will always dearly, dearly love the land of my birth. I can never, ever say I can't. If I had to pick any place to live, I would live up in the hills of Donegal.
Absolutely, sure, yeah. You and Owen Macaulay and a few others, Denny Doherty and all the others.
In the best country in the world, no matter what happens. I can always say I'm an American by choice, not by accident.
Absolutely.
And that is one proud thing I do have. And that's my way. And I firmly believe that. I drilled it into my kids. They love their Irish dancing. They love their Irish music. They love their Irish football. They're all the boys' football, everything but they're Americans.
Absolutely.
And first and foremost, and that's what it is. And life is very cruel, so take it one day at a time. Anna, we'll get back to another thing.
Anna Connahan O'Sullivan, it has been a great honor talking with you these two times.
You too.
We're going to put this together and get it out on YouTube and a few other places so that people can hear your wisdom and your history and your knowledge. And they'll probably have 400 other questions that they'll want us to answer the next time.
If there's questions, I will do my best to.
Absolutely. But we hope that this will be the first of a series of interviews with people who are part of the original history of dancing here in North America, across North America. But this has been a great honor to have you with us. And as a founding member of the organization, we thank you for sharing your ideas and your thoughts and your time with us.
I often said I'll write a book, but this is better.
I'll be happy to help you ghostwrite.
Yes, I would love it. Yeah.
Right. All right, Anna, God bless, and thanks to your family and everything for helping to facilitate this.
Right beside me to do.
All right, we're gonna call it quits, and folks, thank you so much for watching our one-to-one conversation with Anna Connahan Sullivan, founding member of the IDTANA.
O'Sullivan.
I thought I said that. Sorry, Anna Connahan O'Sullivan, who is the founding member of the IDTANA. God bless. Yes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Take care.